Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna, everyone. Bandhav pranams. We are here in our beautiful ashram at the lotus feet of Sri Radha Krishna and their associates, our Guru Varga. So we are going to do some questions today. And it's a very important topic. So we're going to go into that, all right? And we'll see where it leads us. So the question is about the externals in spiritual life versus the internal, and the ascending process in spiritual life based on our own effort versus the descending process based on divine grace. Where is the emphasis to be placed? What is most important? So we'll discuss that. I'm going to read the question here, the essence of the question. Are the details important of how we practice externally? What we wear, what we eat, how we behave, are these things important or not? Or is it just the mood? Is how we do things important? Is how we preach important? If it is only the mercy of God, not our own achievement, if it is only the descending process, not the ascending process, does it mean that Vaidhi Bhakti, or the path of regulation, is not important? All the externals and even the performance, are they not important? Do the externals change with different spiritual teachers or different sampradayas? The internals, such as love, service, and surrender to God, that is what Arenu is asking. So the internals are love, service, and surrender to God. And the externals are things like how we behave, what we do, how we look. So what's most important? And there's a few more questions, but I'll start with that, okay? And if anyone has any follow-ups while we're talking or towards the end, you can ask questions and we'll answer them along the way. So there's so many religions in the world, right? And they all have different customs. Are those customs important? And what are the universal principles of all religions that are genuine? And so we have universal religion, which is, if you assemble all the universal principles, generally you'll hear about love of God, you'll hear about righteous living, non-harm to others. And we'll take the example of Christianity, which focuses on the internals quite a lot, especially, as taught by Christ. Of course, it's Christianity is taught by Christ, essentially. It's based on the Abrahamic tradition, so Judeo-Christianity. And we see that in the Abrahamic tradition, the focus on externals, regulation, rules, and the internals. Christ said, love thy God with all thy heart, love thy fellow man. That's a very internal focus. He said, he who has not sinned should cast the first stone. So he talked about, improving yourself and looking at yourself and not being too quick to judge others. So he focused a lot on the internals. But he also affirmed the commandments. And if it's all the internals, then why should we say, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery? These are external things. These are rules and regulations for humankind. Is it just to have a stable society, or is it for your own spiritual benefit as well? It's for your benefit. You could say, well, I love God, so what's the big deal sleeping with another person's wife? What's the big deal? I love God. She loves God. She wants me. I want her. What's the point of Dharma then? So both are important. Externals are important. Internals are important. In Christianity, we have the idea of grace. This discussion is there between works and grace, your effort and mercy. Yes? And grace is paramount because we are a faith. We believe in God, and ultimately, if it was only by our effort that we could realize God, then that means God is somehow just not like somewhat dependent on us, right? I'm going to realize God and see God, serve God. Are we more powerful? Is God more powerful? Who's more powerful? God is like some self-employed business person who has to fulfill the orders of the souls who want to be with him. It makes sense. God is up there in the sky and he's fulfilling orders. Okay, this person will come to me because they've worked hard enough. It's by grace. It's by his will. First thing to understand in our spiritual tradition, these are universal principles of religion. If we believe in God, we have faith in God, then God is more powerful than I or you or any of us. And so it's dependent on his mercy. That's a universal principle. Now, the externals are also important because it gives you a map and a direction. Not just a map, but a direction, a path. A path means there's sides. Otherwise, it's not a path, it's just terrain. So if it's all just internal, no externals, there's no path anymore. Okay, just love God. That is the essence. But do you love God? Love for God has symptoms such as ecstasy, tears pouring forth from your eyes, hair standing on end, choking of your voice. You'll wander around in society without any care for how you're perceived, completely mad in ecstasy of God. That's love of God. The symptoms are given in Scripture. What are the symptoms of pure love? That is an aspiration. And that is present as part of our nature, as part of the soul, but yet it is a process of discovery. And there's the famous cliche, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So in our context, that means we have free will. So there's God's grace, but we also have free will. That is why we are here. We chose to enjoy separately from God. And we're trying to continue that process every day, depending on how sincerely we're following Bhakti. Following Bhakti means we're trying to develop a different tendency, the tendency of loving relationship, of not considering ourselves completely separate, just like family members aren't separate from each other. Mother and father, brother and sister, husband and wife, children and their parents, they're not separate from each other. They have their separateness, but they have a greater connection. So for us, the externals also matter because it's how we follow a path to achieve a destination. So God's grace is present. Our Gurudev would say, God's grace is always available. Our Gurudev, he told me this directly. He said, my mercy is flowing like a river. And yet it is up to you to dive in. Our Gurudev would say, I'm giving you the plate. I'm preparing the food. I'm putting the food on your plate. I'm giving you the spoon. But it will take away your free will if I put the spoon in your mouth. Then you still have to chew. Okay, I can put the spoon of food in your mouth. You still have to chew. You want me to chew for you? And then once you're finished chewing, I will swallow it and I will digest it. Then you're not alive. So the effort also matters. Effort and grace, that's a specific topic. So there's a famous story in the Bhagavad. I'm not going to go into the details of the story. But essentially, Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna in a very sweet way in their relationship of parent and child. And she was unable to, and she always came up 2 fingers short with the thread. She was trying to bind him to a grinding mortar. And she assembled all the rope and thread in the entire village, hundreds of meters, and it was still not enough. It was always 2 fingers short. And the commentators describe that this means effort and grace. And it was by her effort. She was perspiring. The whole day was passing and she was praying to God. Please, God, if I'm not able to bind my son, what will happen? It will encourage him in his bad behavior. He's a mischievous little boy, and we'll be ridiculed in the whole village. She was praying and perspiring. And then Krishna's heart melted and he allowed himself to be bound. So this is effort and grace. Okay, it's a bit of a paradox. But without God's grace, he can never be bound. God is omnipotent. The soul is finite in its potency. This is the basic understanding of the difference between soul and God. I am spirit. God is spirit. God is the supreme spirit. I am the finite spirit. I am small. I was talking about this with our friend Stephen. My realization as a boy is I am small. This is my first spiritual realization. It wasn't a realization. It was just an acceptance, a sweet understanding of reality. For me, it was sweet. I'm small. And God is beautiful. And He is great. And I'm small. And I'm in His protection. So we are not more powerful than God that we can bind Him by our will. We have free will, so that's why we have to make effort. That means we have to truly desire. And that's a difficult procedure. There's four obstacles in our growth. First is attachment to illusion. We think what is real is actually just temporary and illusory attachment. And so even just to focus on that stage is very difficult. We were talking with someone today, I am not this body. They said, I really want to just hear that. I need to be preached to. I'm not this body. These relationships are temporary. I'm so attached to this world. I'm spending my whole life in material pursuits. I just need to hear that real, old school, for us, Hare Krishna devotees, old school preaching just means to say you're not this body. That's our Bible preaching. You're not this body. And we get caught up in the pastimes of Radha Krishna and just we forget, I forgot, I'm not this body. That's such an exalted conception. And we had this talk, the difference between I am not this body towards what body am I? What is my spiritual body? What is my spiritual relationship? So the externals are helping us with the internals. Okay, the internals, faith in God, love for God, surrender to God. Someone is joining us here. Who is it? Welcome. Hey, okay. Haribo, Rasanidhi joining us. Jai. Coming in from the snowy February night eve. Okay, so works in grace, ascending, descending. I didn't plan or prepare for this, so I hope I'm just kind of going along the journey. Is it okay? Everyone doesn't mind? We're kind of just going around the journey, and I'm drawing from whatever I've heard from my gurus and just trying to go with you on this journey. I'm not trying to, preach to you. I'm trying to understand this myself while sharing from the wisdom of our tradition. All right? So we accept that our effort is important. And really, it's an effort to really know what we want. That's like a hard thing. To really, really, really know what you want on the highest spiritual level. Do I really want that thing that my guru is talking about? Really? And once you come to that stage of truly desiring it, and practicing life in such a way that you can then receive it. Our Srila Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev's dear friend, he would say, first deserve, then desire. We were talking about that this morning. It's such an exalted aspiration we have. I am praying to be a maidservant of Srimati Radhika's lotus feet. I am praying to be an associate of Krishna, a servant of Krishna in his spiritual realm. The audacity. We were saying, I want to be a speck of dust in the lotus feet of Krishna, as if it's like a trivial thing. I'm very humble. I am so humble. I just wish to be a speck of dust in Krishna's lotus feet. There are trillions and quintillion jivas in this existence, trying to live their life, enjoy, have some power, position. How many particles of dust are on Krishna's feet? How many people are there? How much room is there? That's prime real estate. That's the most expensive real estate in existence. Speck of dust in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And we think, oh, I'm so humble. I am so fallen and humble. All I wish to be is a speck of dust in Krishna's lotus feet. It's a very exalted desire, and it's a very ambitious desire. I wish to be a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. All her experiences of love for Krishna will reflect in my heart, mixing with my own individual expression of spirit and love, and we will be in that eternal love affair with God, with Krishna, at every moment, experiencing the ecstasy of our loving exchange, rising higher and higher and higher. Oh, but I'm very humble. So all these spiritual concepts are very exalted concepts, but it is our understanding that both are important. So I'll keep coming back to the question so that I can have the tendency to go off track, but I'm trying to stick to the question and then, move about the terrain. So there's a teaching in our tradition that's called kitten logic and monkey logic. All right? Kitten logic, monkey logic. Who's the kitten logic party here? Two kittens here. How many? Oh, three. Okay, who's the monkey logic party? 1, 2, 3. Oh, and we have a monkey logic person too. Okay, so we have 4 monkey logic people, and one identifies as a monkey and a kitten. I also identify as a monkey and a kitten. You can quote me on that. No, I identify as following the logic of the monkey and the kitten. Who knows the difference? All right, since I'm here with the mic, I'll say it. All right. So kitten logic. Kittens are born, they haven't even opened their eyes. And their mother will carry them by the scruff of their neck. That same mother who a mouse will be very afraid of. You see a cat catch the neck of a mouse, but kittens are never afraid. So if you're afraid of God, then what does it mean?
You're the mouse.
If you're afraid of God, first thing to know is that there's no need to be afraid. Some people are afraid of God. But a person who has not done anything wrong, who has lived an honest life, it's very difficult to be afraid of God. They may be afraid of doing wrong. I've heard this from my guru. He said, in my life, I've never done anything wrong. I've always served. I've always lived a righteous life. I have nothing to be afraid of. People can say anything they want. Right? So that's one point. But the kitten is always carried by the mother anywhere they need to go. And the mother feeds the kitten. Nothing to do. And the kitten has complete faith in the mother. This is kitten logic. Monkey logic is, in India, it's a bit more tough love. You'll see monkeys in India. If the baby monkey doesn't catch hold of the mother, when the mother is going to jump from one place to the next, then she may leave the baby monkey behind. In our line, Diksha Guru is more like kitten logic. Spiritual master, initiating spiritual master is very affectionate and says, no, I'll take you along. I'll carry you along. And instructing spiritual master, Shiksha Guru, is a little bit more monkey logic. This is how it works. If you follow me, good. I've seen this with my Shiksha Guru. He would go on Govardhan Parikrama every day at 2 a.m. And if you're not ready at 2 a.m, you're not going. There's no discussion. And actually, you're in fact an annoyance. It's not like you're a companion. You're just kind of annoying. Why? Because in reality, your consciousness and your guru's consciousness is completely different. And he's on this transcendental experience of relation with Krishna and prayer. And you're like walking along, farting and, just being generally smelly. We would go in the car. We had a little Indian car. And like 8 or 9 of us would pile into this tiny car. We'd have 2 of us in the front seat. I would put my knees under the when you have in a little sedan, it's like under the front seat, tucked under the hood. And by the time I would get to go over it, it would take me about 10 minutes for my legs to wake up. And the rule was, don't make a lot of noise, or you can walk a mile back. Because you're not going there to do some stroll, to do some exercise, to have a fun time. You're literally in the deepest communion with Krishna at that time. Our gurus are in the deepest spiritual communion. And this is monkey logic. You can come with me, but don't disturb me. Because I've been around a lot longer than you, and a lot of young punks like you have come and gone. And I give my life and my soul and my blood and my sweat and my money and my all effort to help you. Right? Don't waste my time, because ultimately my relationship with God to me is paramount. And it's very easy to become attached to followers and then lose sight of your attachment to God. My followers. Oh. My followers. Oh, I have followers. Right? No, I am a follower. Monkey logic. I am a follower of God, my gurus. I am a son. I am a servant. So don't lose sight of that perspective. Right? So monkey logic is there. If I didn't wake up at 1:45 and be downstairs ready in a very humble role, for me, this is a very practical monkey logic kind of thing. Not once, hey, let's go on parikrama. No, I know he's going every single day, 2 a.m. If you want to go, be very peaceful, very quiet, very prayerful, and don't disturb your guru. One time our guru was doing prayers in the morning in our temple in Mathura. 3 and 4 and 5 a.m. Someone knocks on the door, comes inside, touches him. Hey, some important person has some question for you. Guru was very angry. And he told his assistants later, tell them never to disturb me at that time. I'm in deep meditation. I'm praying to God. I'm in my internal relationship with God. And this foolish person is trying to drag me into some nonsense in this world. I don't care. That's my day job. This is my life. My life is my relationship with God. My day job is serving God in many capacities, right? This is my internal affair. So there are internals and externals. Our gurus are practicing the internal, and they're teaching the internal and the external, but also the internal path is not cheap. That's what I'm talking about. The externals help lead you to the internal. We're in the external world, let's face it. There's an example, okay? And I know I'm just navigating around this question, so I'm doing my best. And we have busy life, busy day, so I'm doing my best. I really am. So there's a verse in scripture that says, God poked 2 holes in our skull and gave us eyes that look out at the world, because that's what we wanted. And he said, spiritual life means learning to look within. So he said, okay, here's your brain, here's your big skull, and you want to understand and enjoy the world. So here are 2 sockets, and I'm going to give you 2 eyeballs. And most people I've ever seen, their eyes are pointing out. We can try. You can look down at your nose. You can look up, look to the side. But to look in, you have to close your eyes. Let's do it. Let's look inside, okay? Let's try to discover the internal. All right, Buddha sat under the Bodha tree for how long? Focusing on the internal. It can take a lifetime. It's not a cheap thing to follow the internal path. It's not a cheap thing to have ardent, intense desire for nothing else but love of God. If you have that, then you are a saint. We are not Catholic, but we still may celebrate your disappearance as a feast day. Right? You'll be declared a saint. Those who have pure love of God are saints, and they are worthy of great honor and respect. Worship. It's a very exalted stage, Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, pure love. So to get to that stage, externals help us. Okay, what am I wearing? It's like, what's the point? Just put on some jeans and a shirt. More convenient. People say, aren't you cold, Not even wearing long johns. You're just wearing this 2 yards of random, orange cloth. But there's a reason I have this external garb. There's a reason I wear tulasi neck beads. There's a reason I put on tilak. The reason I wear sika. There's a reason I chant on beads. Love of God, what's the requirement of chanting on beads? Yes? Why is any of this required? I love God. Really? I love everything. And a little bit. I like the idea of loving God. I like the idea. It's a nice idea, right? It's like a pretty idea. It's an attractive idea. Love of God. Radharani says, I don't have a speck of love of God. Radharani, who is the embodiment of pure love. So it is our understanding that love is part of our nature. We have love. The soul's nature is love. And service, it is the soul's nature. But we are very externally oriented. So we need the external things because we are externally oriented. That is a fact. So internals are important, externals are important. Now there are 64 limbs of bhakti as described by our Rupa Goswami. I don't know if I'm answering every question exactly, so you can always have follow-up questions in our chat or in our groups. I'm going to read to you the first 10 of the 64 limbs of bhakti. And this is in the path of regulative practice. But there's a reason these come first. And a lot of them you can say, well, that's external, that's external, that's external. Externals are important. It leads you to the internal. When you have pure love of God. Now I'll give you a reference from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita that I myself follow dharma, even though I'm God and I don't have to. Because if I don't, it would give a bad example to the world, and the whole world would go into chaos. And then he quotes a verse, Yad yad acharati shrestas tat tat evataru jana sayat pramanam kurute lokas tat anuvartate. Krishna says, whatever a great man does, common men follow. So if I myself were to not follow anything, the whole world would take that as an example. What is the rules and regulations? Therefore, we follow Lord Ram, who established Maryada, proper rules and regulation. So, first 10 limbs of bhakti. First is accept the shelter of bona fide spiritual master, receiving Krishna's mantra initiation, learning how to practice bhakti from him. It's called Krishna Dikshari Shikshanam. So first is accepting Guru. That seems like an external thing, very unpopular for most people, to have anyone who's in any position of superiority over you, who has any power to instruct you, who you have to have any deference for. I was talking about this the other day, right? You can have 50 partners in life, 50 lovers in life, all based on enjoyment, but you don't want to serve any of them. And you are, what to speak of, touching the feet of your parents. Vedic culture teaches you, touch the feet of your parents, honor your elders. So we have that issue in the West, especially these days. Everything is based on enjoyment, and honor, service, righteousness is becoming some kind of old-fashioned, anachronistic idea. I grew up in a culture where, as a Westerner, I would touch my parents' feet and honor them. They are my parents. In Vedic culture, you honor your elder brother and you follow his instructions. It's called honor. Aretha Franklin had it right. Can I get me a RESPECT? Right? Respect. We were talking about pure love of God and the relationship. But before that comes respect. Before that comes knowledge of his position as God. So that you don't go there and just be a punk. Right? It's Krishna land, not Disneyland. Disneyland, you get to go and do whatever you want on their set, parameters of rides and material life. So this world is like Disneyland. You get to go on roller coasters and water parks. Samsara means a great big water park. Ocean of material existence. That's Disneyland, the great Disneyland of this world. But that is not Krishna's land. You do not dictate to Krishna and his associates how you want him to relate with you because you are some great soul who decided that you're going to be a speck of dust on his feet. Because you're going to be a speck on a dust in his feet. And then after a day or two, you're going to be telling his feet, hey, go that way. You're going to start crawling up his feet, trying to get on his head. And then give him directions. This is our nature. We want to be controller. We want to be enjoyer. We don't want to be a loving servant of God. We want to love God because it's an attractive idea, be blissful. But what does it really mean? So anyhow, I don't want to give some heavy-handed rant, but we're trying to understand this concept. Why is it important that we practice any externals? Why is it important that we have any regulation in life? We looked at it in Christianity. So now, what are some of the regulations we have? We accept do not kill because we're practicing that. When we take initiation, we say, I shall not take meat. I shall not commit harm to other living entities as much as possible. And any food I do take, I will offer. I will offer sattvic food in the mode of goodness that is acceptable by Lord Krishna. So why do I not take, as a Vaishnava, we don't take onion and garlic? That's all external. I've heard people say, external. Yeah. I'm an internal devotee. Right? Rules and regulations are for thee, not for me. Why is it important? My consciousness is not in Shuddha Sattva, pure existence. My consciousness is always oscillating between tamas, ignorance, rajas, passion, little tiny bit of sattva, if we're lucky. Mostly, the gunas, the modes of nature, are fighting within us. And so we limit our association with things of tamas, ignorance, that encourage that. Onions and garlic are an example. Meat, eggs, an example. It's violent, so it's causing harm, and it's tamas, so it's doubly negative. It's bad for your consciousness, and it also causes harm to other sentient beings. And then vegetables, things that fruit especially, are in the mode of goodness. You don't kill the tree, you take a fruit, better. On Ekadashi days, we take fruit. We don't kill the plant. We don't take vegetables where the plant is harmed. But we offer them to Krishna and they achieve advancement in their journey. Ultimately, their ascensions is very low. I'm just telling you, this is a regulation we follow. We don't eat meat, okay? Thou shalt not kill. We don't eat meat. But we eat vegetables. They have some sentience, but they don't feel pain. When you take a tomato off the plant and you're slicing it, it's very different from cutting up a live animal. It's very different. The tomato is, when it's made into spaghetti sauce, it's not screaming in agony. Okay? So we don't commit harm as much as possible. But also, if we eat that without offering it, it's considered sin. Because we are enjoyer and we are using the things of this world for our sense satisfaction, our own gratification. So it's a very simple process. It's an external thing. We prepare the food, we offer it in front of God. That's an external thing, people say. I remember growing up, it was very odd for people. People would come to our house and I was very shy. And it's like, oh, those are our deities behind the curtain. You have deities? We had a big picture of Nrsingadev at the entry to our house. People would come over and this lion god, incarnation of Lord Vishnu, very fearsome. And we say, no, he's very loving. He has Prahlad in his lap, simple 5-6-year-old boy. He protected him from his demonic father. So God is loving, but he may appear in a fierce form. But I was very shy about it. People say, why do you offer your food and ring a bell? That's a very external thing. But it's very important. It's very important. It's teaching us, it's training us to connect to God in an authentic way. And there are different paths. Now I'm trying to get to this point about following the path and following the externals in the 64 limbs of Bhakti. So we heard about accepting Guru, taking initiation, and learning. Initiation is entrance into the school. Once you're in the school, it's like, okay, you got enrolled, and now you've achieved the completion of the quest. What kind of logic is that? Diksha, initiation, is enrollment in the school. Then you receive instruction and you practice. So the third limb is following the instructions. It's a very painful, external thing. Very painful. And even more painful is that we're supposed to do it with faith and devotion. I will accept I should follow the instructions, but with faith and with love and devotion. And then it says, Vishrambena, developing intimacy and intimate friendship with this person who's bossing me around. Do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. People say it's too hard to become a devotee. It's all do this, don't do this, don't touch this. I've had multi-hour long conversations. Why? You know, this is like kids. Mom, Krishna even did this in Vrindavan. There's a story. Oh, why is the sky blue? That came from Krishna, that question. Why are the trees like this? Why this? Why that? Why this? Why this? Why don't we touch like this? Why don't we touch that? We eat and then we wash our hands. Why do we not eat with our left hand? Why? It's all external. It's not necessary. If you're on the liberated stage of life, do as you like. If you have pure love of God and you're experiencing ecstasy at every moment, do as you like. You've completed the quest. In the meantime, don't eat with your left hand. Okay? God gave you a right hand and a left hand. The right hand is for eating, the left hand is for cleaning your stool. Okay? This is the Vedas. We're in a material body. We are not the material body, but we are in one. So learn how to operate that machine in a clean way, a sattvic way. So there are some externals. We may not want to follow them, but they're helpful. I know that, Renu, you particularly, if you're here, you're not opposed to following. You're very good. It's very good. But I'm trying to help us understand. And so for those who are opposed to following anything, this is more joking for them. Right? So the fourth step is inquiring from this guru, from the spiritual master, how to advance. So there's general instruction. You follow instruction, but then you inquire. So very good. It's called Sad-dharma Pricha, inquiry into the proper path of Dharma. The fifth one, fourth one actually. Fifth one is inquiry. Fourth one is following the footsteps of those great souls who have shown the path of spiritual life. What does it mean they have shown the path of spiritual life? How can they show you the internal? They can show you by revealing somewhat of their mood. Somewhat. But what they teach you to do is follow their footsteps, chant, hear from the spiritual personalities, discourses on Krishna, develop your faith. It has to be awakened. Love is part of your nature, but it has to be directed. Whatever love that is part of your nature is divided into the objects and entities of this world. Kunti Devi famously prayed, may all my love and attachment for my family, which is like many streams in different directions, all come together in one great river that flows to your lotus feet like a river to the ocean. Kunti Devi, a pure devotee, prayed like that. And there are hundreds of prayers like that in our scriptures. So one-pointed love of God. And then our Gurudev said, then you love your family. But your first offering of love is to God. Then you love your family, care for your family, love your pets, take care of your pets, everything. When you love God, then love has the capacity to expand more and more. So it says here, the fourth limb of bhakti is following the footsteps of the great personalities who have shown us the path. Path means there's two sides. That's an external boundary. Understand? There's an external boundary. Do this, don't do that. One side of the path, the other side of the path. Do this, wear this, do this, don't do this. These are boundaries. And they are helpful because they lead us to the goal, the internal realization of your relationship of love with God. That is the pathway. Externals, he's going in a direction. No externals, you're lost. No path to follow. Very popular, modern, kind of loose spirituality. But you know what we like? Some good old time religion. Right? Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. What's the next line? I don't know. That's all I learned. I learned that from Maharaj. So, old time religion, right? It holds people together and it helps them progress on a path. Otherwise, it's only kitten logic. And kitten logic is good, but even in kitten logic, the mother picks you up and puts you from A to B. So there's forward progress. That's the basis of kitten logic and monkey logic. Kitten logic is only descending, kitten logic, grace, mercy. And ultimately, without grace, we have no hope. Krishna's desire, his mercy, is what allowed him to be bound, not her effort. By our own effort, we can never realize God. This is in the scripture. Nayam atma balihinena labhya. You as a soul can never realize God by your own effort. He is adoksaj, beyond your senses. By his own will, he can appear on your senses, which he makes transcendental. This is shown in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, when Krishna revealed his universal form. Not by Arjuna's power did he see Krishna's universal form, by Krishna's grace and by Krishna's affection for him. He said, because you are my very dear friend, I'm revealing this to you. And then Arjuna became afraid and said, actually, I just want to see you as your beautiful Shyam Sundar form. And Krishna revealed himself as the Shyam Sundar form to Krishna, to Arjuna, and he was very happy. So only by God's grace can you see God. That's why when we go in front of the deity, we are not seeing God. We are praying that he sees us. Okay? This is old time religion. Okay? Yesterday I spoke about pure love of God. Today I'm talking about the process to get there. And that's the path. And the fourth limb of bhakti is to follow the path of the Mahajans. Sixth limb is another tough one. You ready for the sixth limb? Being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Lord. Oof. This specifically refers to giving up something dear to you. So it's like for me growing up, it doesn't mean giving up Brussels sprouts. Giving up Brussels sprouts for Krishna's pleasure is not for his pleasure, it's for my pleasure. I'll be very happy. I tell my mother when I'm a kid, oh, mother, I gave up Brussels sprouts. I gave them to Krishna. I said, hut, nonsense, eat your Brussels sprouts. Right? Something very dear to you. I have another monk friend. He gave up his favorite food to Krishna in this world. And in his life, he took a vow never to eat it again. Talk about devotion. Kidney beans. I won't tell you who. Something very dear to you, like for me, okay, what could I give up, I'm trying to think of something. I'm not particularly very attached to food, but, like, okay, someone likes butter pecan ice cream. Okay, that's it. No more butter pecan. Vanilla, chocolate, whatever. But this one thing, I'm giving up to Krishna. Right? As a testament of my devotion, not only my devotion, but my desire. What do I value more? In our line, now we don't force this on people, but for 4 months of the year, we don't eat tomatoes. People say, what's wrong? What did the tomatoes do? You got something against Italians? Right? What did the tomato do wrong? And they say, the tomato was only in India since the last 200-300 years. And this wasn't a Vedic injunction, don't eat tomatoes. Who knows if they were even there? Show me that in the Veda where it says, thou shalt not eat tomatoes. That's an external thing. Thou shalt not eat tomatoes from July to November. I think that's about it, right? July, August, September, October. Yeah. In November, thou shalt eat again tomatoes, or else thou shalt be cast out of the Garden of Eden. That's not in scripture, but our Guru said to do it. And so we do it. It's like pulling off our nails, but we do it. We have a calendar, like a prisoner with marks on the wall. 60 days have passed. 61 days have passed. And people are dreaming of spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, salsa. What else? Simple things, tomatoes in the dal, tomatoes in the khichdi, and it's like a kid who's, like holding on and being dragged away, and he's just holding on to that last tomato. It's very external. Don't eat tomatoes for these 4 months. Does it have a reason or not? People think, I just don't understand why. I know, you have Jewish friends and kosher laws. Not only that, but how particular the laws are. Whew. If you can follow that, that's devotion to God. That's dedication. You offer your salute to that level of dedication. Why? They're following the line, the path given to them by their great personalities. Now, in our path, we're not so fanatic about minutiae of rules and regulation, but comparatively speaking, from an outside perspective, we are. It's okay, I can accept being a vegetarian, but I can't eat tomatoes for 4 months? What did the tomato do wrong? And I'm not getting into the reasons why. There are reasons why. There are valid reasons why. But that's not the point. The point is to follow. That's the point. So number 6 is giving up things that you're attached to. Show your devotion. That's old-time religion. Old-time religion. All right? Residing in a holy place. Number 7. So this spiritual temple is considered nirgun, transcendental. It's a holy place. So we reside in a holy place, or we make our home a holy place by making a temple for Krishna in our home. Maybe small, a little altar. And every day we'll offer something there, offer a flower there, incense there. Krishna said, offer me flower, fruit, water. Simple offering. Make your home a holy place. Live in a holy place. Have beads there, have tulsi there. Something. Make your home holy. Otherwise, your love of God is divided into a million fragments. Your nature's love of God, but that is a jewel that you have smashed into many pieces and thrown to the winds. So, develop love of God by developing relation with his devotees who have love of God. All right, we're going to end up here soon. I have a lot more topics to go over, but what can we do? Number 8, accepting only that which is necessary, dealing with the material world as much as necessary. Yavad arthanu vardita. Number 9, observing the fast for Ekadashi. Too external. But it is needed. For many reasons. This topic is not about why we follow each thing. Because you can go down that why path for endless time. There is no answer to, with kids, if your kids are asking you why, when you answer one why, what happens? You get another why. 2 more. Okay, see, a proper dad answer. Mother Chandrika, how many whys do you get from your kids? How many whys would I need to give you?
Oh, it doesn't stop for hours.
Okay. Your kids, lots of whys. So once you end up on the why path, that's why it's just because. That's the ultimate answer. Just because. Why do we follow Ekadashi? Just because. All right, I have a book that's 700 pages long if you want the long form. If you really want to know why to follow Ekadashi, we have a 700-page book. The first chapter tells you about why we follow on which day and which calendar, and the rest of the pages talk about the glories of each personality and every 2 weeks. But if you want the short version, TLDR, just because. That's the TLDR version. Just because. Number 10 is honoring sacred trees like the banyan, like the tulasi. Okay, that's an external thing, but we do it. And this helps us develop our love. We're not going to go into the next 54 items. All right? Of those 10, the most important are accepting the guru, receiving initiation, serving with honor and respect, inquiry, and so forth. All right? So both sides are important. Kitten logic, monkey logic. In our line, we follow both. Now, you asked a question about Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, and so we follow something from both. We are in the line of Madhvacharya. I'm not going to go too late now, so we'll continue on this topic as we go further. There's, about an hour is about how much time, we have to absorb this information. But some lines favor the kitten path, right? Some lines favor the monkey path. We practice both. I am a kitten, but I should still catch hold and do my best because I have free will, because I have to develop desire, and that's on me. Because God will not take away your free will. He will help you along. Parents help their kids along, right? Your kids try to learn how to walk. You hold their hand. Again, I'll ask the parents here, right? When Rani started to try to walk, you helped her? You can do this. Figure it out. Put her outside. You hold their hand. So it's a dual process. But ultimately, if she doesn't learn how to walk, then she'll always be weak. Right? It becomes like a dependency cycle. So we depend on grace, we depend on mercy, but God wants to see us walk. And we walk in the footsteps of our teachers. And our teachers reveal how they practice externally. Some of the external practice is also helping you gain familiarity with your family, your culture, right? You can join any religion with all different cultures, so many customs. And the externals, what are different is it's a familiar tradition. The internal is love of God, surrender to God, faith of God. We're Christians. Our Gurudev would say we are pure Christians if we are practicing pure bhakti. Christ said, love God with all your heart, love your fellow man. That's our teaching. Then why the difference in robes? Why the difference in tilak? Why the difference in beads? Why the difference in the mantras? Why the difference in the names? Because, our soul is called to that line where it's a sweet friendship in an intimate realm, his own intimate circle of friends. And, they don't wear jeans in Vrindavan. One time they dressed Krishna in jeans in the most famous temple in Vrindavan, Banki Bihari. There was a riot, and the priest was sacked because he was a progressive. He thought, you know what? Krishna's got to keep up with the times. Put him in jeans and took off his flute and gave him a phone. Yeah. 10,000 people came to see the Lord, and he was on the phone. Dressing, in his cultural dress, that's external. So Radharani is not wearing, a crop top or I don't know, like capris or something. Right? I'm not up to date with like fashion. I'm like thinking back to like 1990s. But, Radharani doesn't shop at Lululemon, okay, something a little bit more modern. She has her cultural tradition. And so some of the externals are familiarizing us with our tradition, our culture, our family. And that is something we should feel respect for, feel honor for, feel sweetness towards. It's a beautiful thing. So I like to, think about both sides, and I'm not speaking pro or con for one or the other, but understand it as the pathway leading you to the internal state. And in our line, we're not forcing you. We're not telling you don't wear jeans. There's no problem. I'm not going to do it because that's not my role. I once went to a seminar, a big event, and they said, you're dressed so strange, and do you always wear this kind of clothes? And I said, yeah, it's actually very comfortable. I like it. And I never have to worry about what I'm wearing tomorrow. It's never, is it going to be this color or blue or pink? I'm always wearing pink. And it's an external thing. but it's a very internal thing. I'll give you an example of how the external and internal combine. All right? The external is saffron, but it represents when the sun rises on the horizon and kisses the morning horizon, and then the horizon is blushing. And this is representing the love of Radha as she meets with Krishna in the early morning. And that blushing of the horizon, that pink color, that is what we wear. And the other example given is when Krishna meets with Sri Radha, she places his feet on her chest, and the reddish powder, kumkum, fragrant flower powder, is on his lotus feet. And then he walks home, and the beautiful footprints with his transcendental signs from his lotus feet are on the grass in the morning dew. Later that day, a few minutes later, Radharani leaves the flower grove where she was just with Krishna. This is a fitting ending to our external-internal discussion. So a few minutes later, Krishna leaves to go back home. Every morning we celebrate this Mangal Arati. It's a very external thing, but you know what we're praying? Every morning we're praying, Mayura Sukadi Sadi Kotopi Karaja Mangala Jagara Hetu Kariche Viraja. That, the peacocks are going, Kika, Kika. And what are they singing? Ke means who? Ka has stolen the heart of my Radharani. Kika. And the other peacock is singing, Kika. Krishna has stolen the heart of Radharani. And then another peacock sings, Kika. Who has stolen the heart of Krishna? And the other peacock says, Kika, Radharani. And this way they have their dialogue. Mayura Sukadi, the male and female parrots, are having the same discussion, similar. Kota Pika Raj. And in this way, they're very sweetly awakening the divine couple. We sing this every morning. It's a very external thing we do. We wake up early and we sing this song. Sumadura Dhvani Kare Jata Saki Gan. Radharani's friends are singing very sweetly. Kusumita Sorovare on the very beautiful. This one's more mysterious. It's more of like an indication. A very beautiful lake full of transcendental flowers. And a very gentle breeze is blowing. And near that lake, there's a beautiful flower grove. And we're singing this song, and it leads us to an internal state of realization. And then towards the end, Janjara Kasara Ganta Shanka Karatal, the author, our Param Gurudev, hears the sound of the bells, the sound of the drum, the sound of the gong, the kartals, and he comes back to external consciousness, hearing the sweet playing of the mridanga. And then he prays, I am so fallen. Abhaga Keshava Kori Nama Sankirtan, singing the names of the Lord. He's saying, unfortunate am I. Why am I unfortunate? I'm no longer in that internal state of realization, serving the pastime of Radha Krishna. I'm in this external world. And then again, he goes into the pastimes and names of Krishna. Vibhavare Shesha Aloka Pravesha Nidra Chari Uta Jiva. So it's a very internal thing. So we're wearing a cloth. It's a very internal thing. Krishna left the Kunj, and his footprints were left behind, symbols of the love of Radharani on the carpet of the forest, the green grass. And then Radharani left, and some short time later, she saw many girls in the forest, simple Pulinda girls. That means forest-dwelling girls. And they were taking this reddish powder from the footprints of Krishna and smearing it on their bodies and weeping with divine love. And Radharani said from a distance, how glorious is their love. I have no love for Krishna. Look how much love they have for Krishna. They're smearing this kumkum on their bodies and praying and weeping ecstasy. She had completely forgotten where that had come. That is coming from her own form, from her own relationship with Krishna. So this cloth represents that reddish powder that is coming. Actually, this is your name, if you're still watching. Right? Renu means the reddish pollen that was smeared on the chest of Radharani, that Krishna, when she has this prayer in the Gopi Geet, the 19th verse, it's referenced in a few times. The 9th verse, Gopi Geet references this. The 19th verse, the gopis are praying that, O Krishna, Yatte sujata charanam buruhastane supitambara. O Krishna, when you walk in the forest with your tender, soft lotus feet, we are worried that you are stepping on some sharp stone, some thorn. Your feet must be very hurt. We pray to be able to place those feet on our chest to relieve any pain you may feel. We pray like that. So Radharani places Krishna's feet on her chest with that mood. This is a very sweet, soft mood. This is not any kind of mundane idea of lust. This is a very sweet, tender, pure love and affection. Pure love. And she takes that, and then Krishna's, in the morning, this is Renu, that reddish pollen from Krishna's feet on the forest floor is taken by the forest girls, and they smear it on their body with ecstasy and they weep. It is that color mixed with saffron, that means mixed with the golden hue. So it's not pure red. People say, okay, just wear pure red. Why is it this color? Because it's mixed with the golden color of Mahaprabhu and his renunciation. That to aspire for that highest, spotless, pure love, everything else ultimately must go. It's either this or that. And the final, we live our life, we have our family, we have our friendships, we have our duties, we have our everything, the whole package. But at the end, if we really want that highest realm, all that luggage is left behind. No carry-ons, no check-ons. No check-ins, no carry-ons. Only the soul. That clean, spotless, pure soul will go to that realm of Krishna and be born there with all its own personality and paraphernalia. In this world, we're so attached to our belongings, my check-in, my carry-on, and we're collecting that our whole life. All our qualifications, all our degrees, all our position, our whole life, we're collecting that. Understand? But in the spiritual world, you have your own paraphernalia ready. Part and parcel of your soul. So, finally, we have to put that down and say, God, I really desire you. Please accept me. I really surrender to you. I really have faith in you. I really have love for you exclusively. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripashate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshema vahamyaham. Therefore, external is necessary, internal is necessary. I'm wearing an external cloth that has deep, deep internal meaning. And that has potency to help me on my path so I can practice spiritual life with integrity, with authenticity, with sincerity unto the end. That my last breath is the name Krishna. That my last thought is Krishna. And that my soul can go to him. That is why we practice and protect ourselves with these things. So, Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhya kripa sindhuveva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.